This special program is being brought to you by IBM. Boston, Massachusetts, Children's Hospital. Tommy swallowed lighter fluid. Because doctors know what he swallowed, he will be treated quickly and safely.
You know how many you took of these?
What Misc swallowed is a mystery, and doctors must try to solve it. The most alarming emergency is the child who is too young or too upset to be able to tell anyone what he has swallowed. Of the 500,000 children poisoned in the United States every year, hundreds die. Georgie's parents found him finishing the last of an unknown number of pills of a substance that has not yet been identified. They called their local poison control center, followed its directions, and got him to the doctor fast. Blood samples were taken from Georgie and Misc and rushed to a laboratory at MIT. Dr. Catherine Costello injects serum from each blood sample into a machine, a mass spectrometer that is able to detect the patterns of compounds in the blood. These patterns are automatically fed into a computer that is instructed to compare them with the patterns of hundreds of compounds stored in the computer's memory. The computer prints out a list of the 10 most prevalent substances found in the blood of Misc and Georgie.
We didn't find any active ingredients in them.
In Misc's case, finding that the substance was harmless relieved doctors of further search and Misc of unnecessary treatment. In Georgie's blood, the computer found a specific chemical.
There was some, what doctors call phenacidin in his blood. And
the computer also showed that the concentration in Georgie's blood was not dangerous. More and more doctors are finding ways to use the computer. This is one of them. A forest is changing all the time. In 100 years, what will it be like? Knowing the answer could help us manage our forests more wisely. Here at the Hubbard Brook Experimental Forest in New Hampshire, data that may give us that answer is being collected by ecologists like Dr. Daniel Botkin of Yale University and his graduate students. Data on leaves, tree growth, soil structure, fallen twigs, seed collection, climate, water analysis, stream flow. Millions of measurements have been collected. So many measurements that no one human mind could put them all together.
So with the help of research scientists from IBM, we developed a mathematical model of the Hubbard Brook Forest on a computer. The technique is called computer simulation.
This is KNXT's Newsroom. I'm Joseph Benty, and this is tonight's news. After a 3-day recess, the Senate Special Investigation of Watergate will resume at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. Of course, it will be carried live by Channel 2. James McCord, who was the first to talk about Watergate publicly, will take the stand again. He's going to answer some inconsistencies in his earlier testimony. One of the hottest Los Angeles elections, May 29th, will be the contest between the incumbent, Roger Arnberg, city attorney, of course, a 20-year veteran, and his opponent, Bert Pines. The two men engaged in a live debate on KNXT tonight, and these excerpts, we hope, sum up their general differences.
The major issue in this campaign is lack of leadership by the present city attorney. As a result, the people have not been getting proper protection against crime, against air pollution, against consumer fraud. Now, my opponent, Mr. Arnberg, wants the people to believe that because he's sat in the office of city attorney for the last 20 years, that he's now entitled to be there another 4 years. Well, he confuses longevity with leadership.
I have made it my life career. I've dedicated my life to making the city attorney's office of Los Angeles the finest municipal law office in the country. And this I have done. The record shows it. My opponent has tried a few criminal cases when he was at the U.S. Attorney's Office. Then he had some private experience in a two-man Beverly Hills law office. He has had no administrative experience, He has had no experience in municipal law.
Look what we've accomplished in this campaign. Prior to my campaign, people in Los Angeles didn't even know we had a city attorney. Now, as a result of a few months' effort, we've shown the potential of that office for the public good, for fighting crime, for fighting air pollution, for fighting consumer fraud.
In no way has his experience given him what is necessary in order to enable him to assume the responsibilities and obligations of the office of City Attorney of the City of Los Angeles.
Well, what about you? You're coming up right now. Here's Warren Olney with something that was going on right across the street at the same time that debate was going on.
So a little later, two political enemies who go back further than Yorty and Bradley mixed it up today. They were Yorty and Brown. That's Pat Brown, the former governor. It sounded like some past Democratic Party primary as Brown endorsed Tom Bradley for mayor and then went on to chide Mayor Yorty for taking a $20,000 loan from the wife of one of his aides. The former governor echoed a Bradley charge that Yorty might be evading a state law which says no official can take a contribution from another official. The governor sneered at Yorty's claim that he doesn't know about his campaign finances, but when we asked the mayor about it later, he pleaded ignorance again. First, Governor Brown.
Well, maybe the mayor can avoid it in that way, but I don't think any citizen of Los Angeles believes that the mayor doesn't know where this $20,000 comes from when it comes from the wife of an employee of the city of Los Angeles. And for him to say he doesn't know is sheer poppycock.
Well, I'm not trying to get around any law, and I don't handle any of the money. I don't know how he handles it, but I let a committee take care of that because I'm running the city and running every place to these meetings, and that's all I have time to do.
There seems to be some question because she is the wife of one of your aides that perhaps you ought to know about that.
Well, a wife's got a right to do as she pleases, run her own life. Just because she's got a husband who works for her, that doesn't mean that she can't do as she pleases in her own life.
Since there have been questions about it, do you think she ought to make a declaration about where she got the money?
Well, that's her business, certainly not mine.
Earlier today, the Bradley campaign went to court asking that Yorty be forced to reveal the details of that loan from Mrs. Henrietta Areola, his campaign finance coordinator and the wife of his aide. Judge Campbell Lucas, however, refused to accelerate the proceedings. That means it won't be decided before Election Day. Governor Brown earlier also blasted the mayor for his famous testimonial dinner fund. Brown said he's appalled that Yorty has taken money as gifts rather than as campaign contributions, which have to be accounted for. Tonight, the mayor said all that money was spent on his presidential campaign last year, but he still wasn't saying how much it amounted to. He had a regular campaign contribution dinner tonight in Hollywood. About 800 supporters paid $100 a plate.
There was another development today, Warren. It'll be in tomorrow morning's Times that the Teamsters Union has decided not to support either of the candidates. Who does that benefit?
I would assume that's hard to tell, really. They did not endorse during the primary, to my knowledge. I don't know who they would have gone for. That's tough.
The general feeling was that because the AFL-CIO had come out in favor of Bradley, that this neutralizing of the Teamsters might be helpful to Mayor Yorty.
Well, perhaps. On the other hand, the Teamsters and the AFL-CIO haven't been agreeing on very much of anything.
Did you have any reaction to Roger Arneberg and Bert Pines?
I thought that that's a very interesting campaign, it seems to me. There are so many issues in that campaign that are really interesting, important issues. I thought Pines had a point in saying that this is probably the first time that anybody's really brought the office to the attention of the public. Whether that means that he's the better man just because he happens to be the opponent, I don't know.
I think this is going to be a test, I wonder if you agree, on cosmetics and television. Seriously, the facing of this younger man versus this older man.
Yeah. The older man, however, did manage to come across as experienced and took a judicious view of things from time to time, sort of as if he were fending off this upstart. And so it works both ways, perhaps.
Well, I think it'll be a good test to see whether or not somebody just projecting youthful image can be successful over a man who may have more experience. Thank you, Warren.
Former Attorney General John Mitchell and former Commerce Secretary Maurice Stans have pleaded innocent to charges of perjury and conspiracy. The two men were arraigned Monday in New York in connection with a $200,000 political contribution by financier Robert Vesco. More from NBC's Paul Udell.
Mr. Mitchell, what about the testimony so far? What do you think about it?
Gentlemen, excuse me, gentlemen. How will you plead this morning? How will you plead this morning, Mr. Mitchell?
Mitchell arrived and left grim-faced and tight-lipped to the swarm of reporters waiting outside the federal courtroom. Inside, he joined fellow defendants Maurice Stans and Harry Sears, and then before a packed courtroom, the three pleaded not guilty to charges of perjury and conspiracy in an alleged scheme to influence a federal investigation of financier Robert Vesco. Vesco, a defendant himself, was not present in the court and is believed to be living somewhere outside of the country. A bench warrant was issued for his arrest. None of the defendants had to post bond today. They were released on their own recognizance. The government had asked for a minimum $1,000 bond, but the judge, noting the past high government positions of Stans and of Mitchell, said even that bordered on the ludicrous. Paul Udell, NBC News, New York.